Link. He's on a quest to save the Princess Zelda!
Hey! Listen, we've got to do a review.
Okay. I don't like Breath of the Wild. That's a phrase I never thought I would say, but here I am, and I've just said it. Now, I'm not new to Zelda. I've been playing since the first outing on the NES, and over the years it's offered non-stop awesome innovation and incredible gameplay. And Breath of the Wild looked even better. That was until I got a few hours in. I have finished it, and I want to stress that, but it was the first time I've ever felt bored throughout a Zelda game. Quests became chores, dungeons had gone, story non-existent except for finding patchy memories dotted around the huge map. But I digress. There are some positives.
Okay, so let me get some positives out. It's huge and Hyrule looks incredible. You can really tell that every portion of this mammoth world has been meticulously modelled and crafted. It really does not look like a randomly generated place, and for that it deserves every ounce of praise. The problem with Breath of the Wild is that it has gotten rid of its Zelda-style narrative and progression and replaced it for one of total freedom. Now, although that sounds great on paper, in reality it left me with a sense of no achievement or accomplishment. 14 hours in and I'd felt like I'd done nothing. This is mainly due to it being tiresome.
The breakdown of play is unlock parts of the map by climbing towers. Sound familiar? Find shrines, enter them, solve a 2-minute puzzle earning you a spirit orb, do 4 of those, pray to a statue, receive a heart container upgrade or a stamina upgrade. All the while you're roaming around finding this stuff to upgrade Link enough to be able to take on the divine beasts. There are 4 of these and they act like more complex shrines. The divine beasts are much more entertaining due to them being more like traditional Zelda dungeons, although they are still nowhere near as good or as epic as anything from, say, Ocarina of Time. The standard shrines, although occasionally clever, all look the same. Same textures, same environments with generic tiles over and over. They get quite repetitive after the first few, and there are a total of 120 in the game. Yeah.
Sometimes though the shrines are presented in a much more fun way that are more integrated into the world, such as the Deku Trials. This is all a part of one area of the game, so for a brief moment you actually start to feel like you're doing a cool Zelda style dungeon. But there are only a few of these, and often the shrines can be as simple as defeating a singular enemy. Apart from the shrines being a bit hit and miss, the traversal of Hyrule can be as tedious as it is beautiful. Riding a horse helps, but some of your initial destinations are far apart, and this isn't a game that you can just breeze through the story if you choose. No, it's laid out in a way that is pure open world. And for anyone that is a super fan of how the narrative plays out in most Zelda games, then you may find this trip quite lonely and sparse for the most part. One of the biggest problems is the way the weapons work now, or don't, should I say. To keep the pace moving along, they have made it so your weapons last a pitiful amount of time before they break. And for the most part this is fine, as if they didn't give you something to do every 2 minutes you would start to see how bland and empty most of the game is. Taking on enemies at Far Cry style outposts is also very unrewarding. Sometimes you'll get a sword, or maybe some rupees. After doing a few of them I found myself just completely ignoring them as they provided me with little more than a way to waste arrows or get unlucky and be killed.
Basically it's a lot of effort for f*** all. It started to make it feel like the juice just wasn't worth the squeeze, with most of the open world aspects. The thing that drove me on though, ploughing through shrine after shrine, building up my hearts, walking and riding on horse chops for hours on end, was to acquire the legendary Master Sword, the one blade to rule them all, and the only weapon that doesn't break in the whole game. Or so I thought. You need around 13 hearts to pull the sword from its resting place, so that's 40 shrines you need to find and complete before you're even close. It's a test of strength to see if you are worthy, and after 40 shrines, I was f***ing worthy. Let me tell you, once I pulled that sword from the ground, I thought, this is it. This is where the game really starts. No more stupid weapon breaking, and I can go and take on the last 2 divine beasts and have fun. No! The Master Sword still f***ing breaks, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Thank you, Miyamoto. Cheers! Yeah! Just let that sink in a little. Yes, it breaks. Okay, but it's not in the same way as the other weapons.
With the normal weapons, once it breaks, it's gone. With the Master Sword, it runs out of power and requires to take a 10-minute real-time rest. Yes, the legendary sword needs to take a break after the tiniest amount of battles. And after defeating just a small handful of enemies, the Master Sword gives up. I was dumbfounded. I just didn't understand why I was forced to work for so long to get this blade, and when I did, it's just as useless as the rest of the weapons in the game. Actually weaker compared to some. Pointless. You don't even need to get the Master Sword to finish the game. I merely wanted to work for it to make the time in Hyrule more fun. But nope, I'm bitter about it, and that's that. After that, I put Zelda down.
I too put the game down after this crushing discovery, but slowly I picked it up again, trying out more of the side quests and just trying to get into the world a little bit more. But the side quests boiled down to go get me 10 of these, find me 3 of those, go here, get that, bring me spices, bring me a blue flame, f*** off. Fetch quests everywhere. There are a few minor, different kind of little quests, but most of them are fetch quests.
Whilst there's no denying that Breath of the Wild has done something new with Zelda, and has done open world well, and when doing the Divine Beast, Breath of the Wild runs at a lovely pace. But as there are only 4 Divine Beasts, the pace ends quickly. I think the biggest problem overall is that it no longer functions like a Zelda game. It's like most other open world games I've played, and the charm has been lost somewhere. Climb towers to unlock the map, grind up the character to take on the 4 mini-dungeons, then it all ends in a castle. Which is the only true dungeon in the whole game, and then it's over. The story doesn't matter. It's such a terrible plot, nor were there any truly standout moments along its very long and arduous journey.
It very much outstayed its welcome after the 50-hour mark, and at times I just found myself playing it because I wanted to get it done and gone. I don't think I would play it again, and that's really sad considering the amount of times my N64 Ocarina of Time cartridge has been slapped in the box of joy.
But our feelings aside, it's a technical marvel. It's so seamless and well crafted that you can easily lose yourself in its vastness. But as far as a compelling entry to the Zelda franchise, this falls below expectations, giving this a solid 7.
Marred by silly weapon breaks, the constant need to cook food and find ingredients just takes you away from the real point of Zelda, which was the adventure, fighting through perilous dungeons with fierce bosses and clever level design and puzzles, not worrying about whether you've cooked enough f***ing apples. I miss the old Zelda style, and I hope they can integrate that a little more in the future releases, but I guess we have to start somewhere, and Breath of the Wild is definitely a foot in the right direction for the new style that I don't really like.
And there you go, so that was Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
I don't think... No, I disagree. I disagree with all those reviews that were going, 10 out of 10, best game ever, masterpiece. I don't think they've actually played another Zelda game.
No, it's not a 10 out of 10 in Zelda sense, but also... Yeah. Horizon Zero Dawn came out at the same time, and I think as open world experience to go, that was better. I'd say that was more of a 10 out of 10.
The saddest part of this is the fact that we're comparing Zelda to another game, whereas before, Zelda was kind of...
its own thing.
Yeah. Zelda was a standalone... This is Zelda, that's what Zelda is. There is nothing else that is like Zelda. And now Zelda's like everything else. I think that was the biggest part that I was kind of like, oh, I'm a bit disappointed. I mean, don't get me wrong, I played the whole thing from start to finish, and it just, the first part on the plateau, I quite enjoyed that. It kind of, I guess the plateau bit gives you a taster of
everything the game has to offer,
yeah.
But even still, I found the plateau bit quite tedious.
Right,
like,
yeah.
I mean, okay, it takes you a while to realise that if you cook the chilies, you can get through the cold sections. Before I was running in with a torch, then accidentally going to attack, and the torch was gone. It was like, oh no. So it was a little bit tedious, and there's a kind of, for me, it just felt like it kept doing that. It just,
yeah.
I just couldn't get immersed.
Yeah, and then when you get off the plateau and you realise how vast the world is, and literally, like, after you get off the plateau, you get given the objective of there's 4 Divine Beasts and 4 corners of Hyrule. Off you go.
Yeah, they're like, let you off the leash.
And that's great.
Yeah.
But it just, I think Zelda without, like, this kind of... I mean, Zelda always had this well-structured pace of you go here, you get this power that allows you to go into the next dungeon, and you can use that to solve the puzzles there. And
yeah.
you're just this slow, constant changing progression of Link growing throughout the game and getting all the gear to be able to finally beat the end boss. It's kind of not like that anymore.
No, Zelda always had the feel like it was open world.
Yeah.
Like Ocarina of Time, you had the the Hyrule fields.
Yeah, it was kind of a hub, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it felt like it was open world, but it was very linear to a point because there was only one way you could do it. And
that's right, yeah.
Breath of the Wild is too open, way too open for a Zelda game, and the dungeons have gone because of that, I feel.
Yeah, now, before you say, well, the dungeons are still there because the shrines are technically dungeons.
Yes.
I agree, but... they're so small and they all look the same. I mean, you can't say, okay, if I said, well, I can't even remember a name of a shrine, that's bad.
That's how memorable they are.
Okay, but if I shouted out a random name of a shrine, you would not know. You wouldn't know which one's which or what I was talking about. But if I said the Deku Tree Dungeon or the Water Temple from Ocarina of Time, you know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And it's memorable. But none of those in Breath of the Wild are very memorable. Some of them are very clever. Like, the puzzles involved are quite... some of them are quite brain taxing.
Yeah.
But then others are just like, walk in, kill an enemy, you get... There's your orb, go, off you go.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's like the whole story as well. You have to find the story. The story wasn't laid out in front of you. And like, you know, we go back to Ocarina of Time again. It was so going between the two different time periods. It was really cool.
Yeah, and also, let me just say this straight away. I mean, Ocarina of Time didn't have an amazingly elaborate plot. Neither does Breath of the Wild. But
no.
Ocarina of Time, the little plot that was there was presented to you in a timely manner, and it hit the right keynotes.
Yeah.
You know, Breath of the Wild, you're looking for places that look similar to photographs that are in your tablet, and then you find them, and you get this cutscene and that's the other thing. Moves me swiftly onto the voice acting. I didn't really mention that in the review, but the voice acting is kind of weird because the Zelda games don't have voice acting.
No, this is the first one to feature.
I wouldn't
say full voice acting.
No, it's kind of partial.
Yeah, which was kind of weird as well. So sometimes the characters would go ho ho, and other times they would and other times they would actually
have a full on
voice. But sometimes it was too weird.
Yeah,
some of the characters would just come out with weird things, and it was like, that was best left to text with my imagination.
Exactly.
Rather than someone stood in a studio awkwardly going, oh.
Yeah, it's bit strange that. But I heard if you turn it to the Japanese voiceover, it's a bit better.
Yeah.
Like, because obviously it's Japanese, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, so it's a bit better. I don't really like the voice they chose for Zelda.
Your path seems to mirror your father's. You've dedicated yourself to becoming a knight as well.
Like, I mean, if I was going to put a voice to Zelda, that wouldn't have been it.
No.
It just felt too old.
Yeah, way too old, way too, I don't know, wise. It was like you're speaking to some old wise elf.
Which technically
Zelda is, I suppose, but it was just felt too, like, Lord of the Ringsy.
Yeah, no. And she doesn't do much in the game.
No, not really.
Well, actually, she doesn't do anything in the game.
She's busy holding off the massive,
She's waiting for Link.
Yeah, she's pretty busy, Yeah.
But so that's Breath of the Wild. Now, I can't deny it. It is an amazingly well put together game, and it's something that you're either going to love or you're going to have some beef with, which is kind of where I find myself being stuck.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is. It's simply... It's that cut. You either think it's 10 out of 10, or you're like, they've kind of ruined Zelda for me here.
I don't think anyone would ever think it was crap, like, as in to the point of, like, 0 out of 10.
No,
or,
it's by no shout.
No,
it's not a bad game in any sense of the word.
No.
But it's just not Zelda enough.
It doesn't feel
to
like
be
Zelda.
a Zelda game.
Yeah.
It's like a spin-off.
Yeah, but a very well-made spin-off.
Yeah.
I don't know how to call this one. Anyway, I'd like to know what you guys think about Breath of the Wild, because obviously it's people are touting it as Game of the Year already, and even though the
Game of the Decade, best game ever, it's reached like the top 3 on Metacritic for all time.
Yeah, and Nintendo keep posting, the critics have a lot to say about Breath of the Wild. It's like, well, I'm a critic, and I don't know, man.
The critics have a lot to say, but when you look at other YouTubers that have reviewed it, and I'll go as far as say normal people have reviewed it, and they kind of had the same, the same gripes with it as us. It's like, yes, it's an amazing game, but you've got this, and this, which kind of
pull it down a little bit.
They don't make it a perfect 10.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Zelda has gone this way, it breaks my soul almost as easy as the Master Sword.
Oh, no. The Master Sword breaking?
I know.
I don't get it. Every other Zelda game, you're having the sword and you're using it all the time, and then you get to Breath of the Wild and it needs a rest.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the Master Sword's like 30 years old now. It needs a break.
Well, anyway, breaks aside, that's all the time we've got for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe, and of course leave us all your comments down below, because we'd love to hear what you think about Breath of the Wild, and whether you love it or hate it.
Yes.
Or you're in between. Whatever, let us know. And as always, I've been Bren.
I've been Jay.
And we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.